Today, a problem yethu says that determine f prime of x from first principles if it is given that f of x equals to 2x squared minus 3x. Okay, so when it says determine it from first principles over here, it means that we should use the limit method. So what does the limit method says? Okay, the limit method says f prime of x equals to the limit as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x over h. Okay, now what are we given and what should we be looking for? Now we're given f of x. So this f of x over here, you're going to use it over here. You're going to put it over here in the equation as it is. I mean the 2x squared minus 3x. But over here, we're going to take the x plus h and make it equals to x. So it's going to take the position of x over here on this equation. Everywhere you have x over here, we're going to use x plus h. And then you solve it. That's as easy as it gets. And then you get rid of the f, and then you solve everything. Okay, this is how it goes. Okay, now I'm going to say it's equals to. Okay, now we can still use the limit. Okay, let's say the limit as h approaches 0. Okay, now we come to this equation. 2, we said everywhere where there's an x, we're going to put x plus h. But it doesn't mean we're going to get rid of the square here. So the square will stay. And then over here, we say minus 3 times x plus h. Do not forget, everywhere where there's an x over here, you're going to use x plus h. That just takes care of this part of the equation over here, the f of x plus h. And then, to take care of the f of x over here, we're going to take the f of x over here and write it as it is. We're not changing anything. But mind you that we have a negative sign over here. So what I usually do, I put the negative sign over here because that's a formula. And then I open some brackets and then put the whole thing over here. This is just to remind me that everything that is going to be inside over here is going to be multiplied by that negative sign over here. So in that way, we don't end up getting an incorrect answer. Okay, and then we take everything as it is and then we divide it by h. Okay, now we continue. We say the limit as h approaches 0. Okay, now we say the 2 x plus h is this. It's something like this. We say x plus h, right, times x plus h. that's the meaning of the square over here. Okay, that will take care of this first term over here, and then what I would like is to use a square bracket and close that. Okay, now when we get to here, we can do the math now. Say negative 3 times positive x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times positive h, it's negative 3h. Okay, we continue over here, we do the math. Negative 1 times positive 2x squared will be equals to negative 2x squared. Negative 1 times negative 3x will be positive 3x, because negative times negative is positive. And then the whole thing divide by h. Do not forget that h over here, because eventually you will see why myself it's easy not to forget it, because eventually when we take the limit over here, it should get rid of that h. Okay, I think I don't know if I am getting off screen here, so let me get back on screen. That way you will see what I'm doing. Okay, that's good enough. All right, so over here what I was saying is that the square over here will make the x plus h into 2x plus h plus s plus h. Then we took the negative 3 and multiplied everything here, and then we took the negative 1 over here and multiplied everything here. That is what we have over here. So all divide by h. Okay, now we continue. We say the limit as h approaches 0. Okay, now if we do the math over here and multiply everything out, we start with this. It should give us an x squared, and then we continue with that. It should give us an xh, and then we take this and that. It should give us an xh, which would make it 2 times x squared plus 2xh, because of this xh over here and this xh over here. But h times h would be h squared plus h squared. Okay, we took care of business over here, but mind you, we still have to multiply it by 2 over here. Okay, this one we can write it as it is over here. Negative 3x, negative 3h, negative 2x squared plus 3x. Well, things are going to start to cancel out as soon as I multiply by the 2 over here. That is why I didn't do anything over there. So divide by h, don't forget that. Okay, we continue. We say limit as h approaches 0. Okay, now we're going to have 2 times x squared. It's 2x squared. 2 times 2xh plus 4xh. 2 times h squared plus 2h squared. Okay, minus 3x minus 3h minus 2x squared plus 3x, all divide by h. Okay, and so now this is the time when we start to take out what we can take out. So 2x squared over here is positive, then positive negative minus 2x squared over here, that will give us 0. Okay, so for xh there's nothing we can do. 2h squared There's nothing we can do. Negative 3x over here will cancel positive 3x over here. So it's more like 3x minus 3x equals to 0. Okay, so I think that's the only thing that we can cancel out. Now we continue. So as we continue, we say limit as h approaches 0. Okay, now what we're left with is 4xh plus 2h squared minus 3h divided by h. Okay, now when we're here, I want to tell you something, and I hope that I do convince you. So all these terms, anything that's like all these terms, what I mean by terms, a term is this, and then this is a term, and that's a term. Anything that's divided by a plus or minus, it's a term on its own. Okay, what I wanted to say is that since they are all divided by h, it means that individually, each and every one of them is divided by h if they are all divided by h. So in that way now, given that, you can say 4xh divided by h plus 2h squared divided by h minus 3h divided by h. Okay, we do that in algebra. So why do we do it here? It's because now we want to start cancelling the h. So h here will cancel h here. And then this h over here will cancel only one of the h's over here. Remember, it's not because it's 2h squared, it's because it's h squared. So h1 here will cancel h1 here. Then this one will cancel that. So our answer now will look something like this. Limit as h approaches 0, 4x, okay, plus 2h minus 3. Okay, that's what I meant by, like, we still have one h over here, because h squared, it means like it's h times h. So we only canceled one h. Now, this is the time when you have to take the limit. Because remember, we're all doing all these things so that we can end up taking the limit. If you took the limit anywhere in those steps that we were on over there, you would have had to have a 0 at your denominator. And anything divided by 0, that does not exist. You cannot divide anything by something that does not exist. So this is what we needed to do. So now, in taking the limit, it's basically what you do. You say limit as h approaches 0 will be 4x plus 2 times 0. Because this is the 0 over here. So you just put it instead of the h. And then minus 3. Okay. For this term, it stays as it is. It will be 4x. For this one, 2 times 0. Anything times 0 is 0. So we're left with minus 3. So our answer is 4x minus 3. Okay. Now, before we move on this one, remember, we did all this because they told you that you have to solve it using the first principles. If they didn't say solve it using the first principles, and you happen to remember another way that you can do this thing, If I were you, what I would do, I would say, okay, that's fine. I would use the derivative now in order to solve it. I thought I have my derivative over here, but apparently I do not. But we can go ahead and solve it using the derivative here. Okay, let me show you what I mean. Okay, let's lose this one. The problem says 2x squared minus 3x, right? That is our f of x. So if you are trying to find f prime of x, which is the same as d of x, which is the same as dy dx, where you're going to use this formula. I like to call it a formula, but it's probably not a formula. It's an algorithm. Nx to the power n minus 1. But now this algorithm you're going to apply to each and every term. Remember that I was telling you that we have, these are terms. This one is a term and that one is a term. So in solving that, you are going to say, okay, the first term over here, the exponent n is equals to 2. So you take that 2, it's going to come in front. But because there's a 2 over there already, what you're going to do, you're going to say, okay, that 2 that I'm bringing up here, I will multiply by the 2 that was already there. Okay, and then x to the power 2, that exponent minus 1. Okay, that's the first term. Okay, and then we go to the second term, minus. Okay, our exponent on this one is 1. So you can say 1 times 3x to the power 1 minus 1. Remember, we're following that. Okay, so that way we're going to have 2 minus 1, 4x to the power 2 minus 1, it's 1 here, minus 1 times 3, it's 3. Okay, x to the power 1 minus 1 equals to 0. Okay, now 4x 1. So anything to the power 0 equals to 1, including yourself. If we're saying you are to the power 0, you will be equal to 1. So now take that 1 and multiply it to 3, and then my answer will be what? 4x1 minus 3 times, okay, let me do the 1 over here so that you can see. X to the power 0 is 1. Okay, so my answer, it would be 4x minus 3. Okay, which is the same answer as what we got here when we're using the first principles. So you can use the first principles, and if you have time in your exam, what you can do, you can go and use the derivative method, which is easy, just to double check yourself. Okay.